Today we're going to take a look at two different sweeps and when is it appropriate to do each one. Scissor sweep and the push-pull sweep. Look at probably the most basic sweep, right? The scissor sweep, everybody knows this one. Traditionally, Gracie jiu-jitsu, we're having sleeve, collar. We need our one knee to come across, the other one to be ready to sweep. Obviously there's a piece of loading and follow through. Grips don't always have to be in the same position, right? This is a pretty highly variable sweep. No gi. We're looking at elbow control, using the head as a gauge as well for off balancing your opponent. But many ways to use this technique, but when should you not use it? That's what we want to take a look at. So if we look at simple mechanics, physics, when would it not be appropriate to do a scissor sweep? Obviously, if she has a very wide base, it's going to be difficult for me to topple her over. Now, of course, with the load, I could pull her in enough, but anybody worth their salt is going to sit back and base out, right? So it's actually almost a vain attempt to try to force the sweep. And of course, forcing is not jiu-jitsu, just means we're strong and athletic. But she doesn't want to stay in my guard, and there's a high probability that she's right-handed and she wants to pass this direction. So I'm already preemptively thinking about how she's going to pass. This knee somehow, more than likely, is going to make its way in between my legs as she creates her base. This is an appropriate time to do the scissor sweep because she doesn't have a post or base, and if I just shift my body, she's going to topple. So I maintain my grips, whatever my preference. As she tries to back away and get in position, I switch, and the scissor sweep is almost effortless because again, she doesn't have a post. She's created this teeter-totter position, and it's simple to sweep over. So I don't always pull the opponent and come up high so I can load and fall back, although that works. What I usually do, even if I assume the opponent's going to pass to this side, I try to make it important that they can't raise this arm. So maybe sometimes I will hold this side down as tight as I can. I'll put as much effort here as possible. So I'm still not loading, but it's easier for her to pick this shoulder up than this one. So she'll probably reach back like that. Now, pretty key point for not getting your guard passed for one, but also setting up the sweep, is as soon as she makes an attempt to push this knee down, if I allow it, whether it's her hand or her elbow, if this goes down, there's a very high chance that I'm going to get passed. So my quickest protection would be that as soon as this elbow and shoulder start to rotate, I start to rotate my knee to the inside, which makes it hard for her to push that down. Of course, now the more she pushes, the more off balance she is, and the sweep is pretty easy from that point. Look at it from this angle real quick. Coming to my guard. As soon as her elbow goes back, this is an indicator, right? We're playing guard, I'm holding. As soon as that goes back, I turn my knee to the inside. If I don't, if she wins, this is going to be hard to overcome. Knee slice, all this stuff. So it's in, holding elbows, I'm reaching for collar, that goes back, I turn it in. She tries to put her knee in my butt. The sweep, many variations again. The sweep is very easy at that point. I didn't force it, I allowed my opponent to move, and there lies the sweep. But now let's take a look at the push-pull sweep, which is a great variation. Again, it just depends on the angle of my opponent's hips, what they're doing with their lower body. And we'll take a look at that right now. So if I just feel the need to do a scissor sweep and I attempt it, there's a high probability that she's going to base out with her leg. And some people still try to use this pressure to sweep, and they try to load, and this is obviously the wrong time to do the scissor sweep because she's basing. But it very easily presents itself for a push-pull sweep where the foot goes to the knee. And simply following through with this, I push, I roll, and there's the sweep. Oftentimes, people try to push through this too fast, and anytime you have a fast movement, your opponent can react fast, which begins the scramble, and the more athletic person with more endurance is probably going to win. So sometimes I begin this sweep and my opponent bases out. I'll put my foot on their hip, but I won't push immediately, because if I try this fast, she may be ready to hop over and pass my guard, and now she's inside control. So instead, I just like to play a little waiting game. Maybe I am setting up the scissor sweep because I want her to put her foot here. I try to place the ball of my foot right on the teardrop muscle of her quad, not below because she could drop her knee over, and not too high because I don't have leverage. So right there on that teardrop, and I'll hold as I continue to pull. And now I'll go ahead and fight to get out of this. As she attempts any muscle, her stiffness actually creates the sweep for me. And it's pretty slick because I'm waiting on her to get in the right angle. And at that point, I just maintain kind of a stickiness with a slow amount of pull, kind of like a hydraulic pump. I'm just slowly pulling. And when she begins to resist and fight, her stiffness actually makes her sweep herself. If you force too much, I'll feel it, I'll understand what you're doing, and I'll try to resist. But if it's just a slight pressure that doesn't relent, and you're pulling at the same time, it's almost like I'm falling into a trap, which technically is what we're doing.
Okay.
So maybe I base already. This is the wrong time to do a scissor sweep, but you go to the push-pull and just a little pressure. I know what you're trying to do, so I start fighting, but you pull me forward. Yeah. Voila. You have a good voice for camera. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not sure if that was a compliment.
No, it was not. He's saying I got a face for radio.